not the lighting we discussed. There are these two young fish swimming along, and they happen to meet an older fish swimming the other way, who nods at them and says, "Morning, boys, how's the water?" And the two young fish swim on for a bit, and then eventually one of them looks over at the other one and goes, "What the hell is water?" Now, if you're worried that I plan to present myself here as the wise older fish explaining what water is to you younger fish, please don't be. I'm not the wise old fish. The point of the fish story is merely that the most obvious, important realities are often the ones that are hardest to see and talk about. Education is not so much about filling you up with knowledge as it is about, quote, teaching you how to think. Now, if you're like me as a student, you've never liked hearing this, and you tend to feel a bit insulted by the claim that you need anybody to teach you how to think. Everything in my own immediate experience supports my deep belief that I am the absolute center of the universe. It's pretty much the same for all of us. It's our default setting, hardwired into our boards at birth. Just think about it. There is no experience that you've had that you are not the absolute center of. The world as you experience it is there right in front of you, or behind you, to the left or the right of you, on your TV or your monitor, and so on. Other people's thoughts and feelings have to be communicated to you somehow, but your own are so immediate, urgent, real. As I'm sure you guys know by now, it is extremely difficult to stay alert and attentive instead of getting hypnotized by the constant monologue inside your own head. This may be happening right now. I have come gradually to understand that the cliche about teaching you how to think is actually shorthand for a much deeper, more serious idea. Learning how to think really means learning how to exercise some control over how and what you think. It means being conscious and aware enough to choose what you pay attention to and to choose how you construct meaning from this experience. Because if you cannot exercise this kind of choice in adult life, you will be totally hosed. I submit that this is what the real value of your education is supposed to be about. How to keep from going through your adult life dead, unconscious, a slave to your head and to your natural default setting of being uniquely, completely, imperially alone, day in and day out. Now, the plain fact is that you do not yet have any clue what day in, day out really means. There happen to be whole large parts of adult American life that nobody talks about. One such part involves boredom, routine, and petty frustrations. The parents and older folks here will know all too well what I'm talking about. By way of example, let's say it's an average adult day, and you get up in the morning, you go to your job, and you work hard for 8 or 10 hours, and at the end of the day, you're tired and somewhat stressed, and all you want is to go home and have a good supper and maybe unwind for an hour, and then hit the sack early because, of course, you have to get up the next day and do it all again. But then you remember that there's no food at home. You haven't had time to shop this week. So now after work, you have to get in your car and drive to the supermarket. Traffic is apt to be very bad, so getting to the store takes way longer than it should. And when you finally get there, the supermarket is very crowded because, of course, it's the time of day when all the other people with jobs also try to squeeze in some grocery shopping. And the store is hideously lit and infused with soul-killing music or corporate pop, and it's pretty much the last place you ever want to be. But you have to wander all over the huge, overlit store's confusing aisles to find the stuff you want, and you have to maneuver your junky cart through all of those tired, hurried other people with carts, and eventually you get all your supper supplies, except now, it turns out, there aren't enough checkout lanes open, even though it's the end of the day rush, so the checkout line is incredibly long, which is stupid and infuriating. And you finally get to pay for your food, and you get told to have a nice day, in a voice that is the absolute voice of death. And you have to drive all the way home through slow, heavy SUV, intensive rush hour traffic, etc., etc. Everyone here has done this, of course, but it hasn't yet been part of your actual life routine, day after week, after month, after year. But it will be. And many more dreary, annoying, seemingly meaningless routines besides. But that is not the point. The point is that petty, frustrating crap like this is exactly where the work of choosing is going to come in. Because the traffic jams and crowded aisles and long checkout lines give me time to think. And if I don't make a conscious decision about how to think and what to pay attention to, I'm going to be pissed and miserable every time I have to shop. Because my natural default setting is the certainty that situations like this are really all about me. About my hungriness and my fatigue and my desire to just get home. And it's going to seem for all the world like everybody else is just in my way. And who are all these people anyway in my way? And look at how repulsive most of them are, and how stupid and cow-like and dead-eyed and non-human they seem in the checkout line. And look at how deeply and personally unfair this is. You get the idea. The thing is that, of course, there are totally different ways to think about these kinds of situations. I can choose to force myself to consider the likelihood that everyone else in the supermarket's checkout line is just as bored and frustrated as I am. And that some of these people probably have harder, more tedious and painful lives than I do. It just depends on what you want to consider. If you really learn how to pay attention, then you'll know there are other options. It will actually be within your power to experience a crowded, hot, slow, consumer hell type situation as not only meaningful, but sacred. On fire with the same force that made the stars. Love, fellowship, the mystical oneness of all things deep down. Not that that mystical stuff is necessarily true. The only thing that's capital T true is that you get to decide how you're going to try to see it. This, I submit, is the freedom of a real education. You get to consciously decide what has meaning and what doesn't. The really important kind of freedom involves attention and awareness and discipline and being able to truly care about other people and to sacrifice for them over and over in myriad petty, unsexy ways every day. That is real freedom. That is being educated and understanding how to think. The alternative is unconsciousness, the default setting, the rat race, the constant gnawing sense of having had and lost some infinite thing. It's about the real value of a real education, which has almost nothing to do with knowledge and everything to do with simple awareness of what is so real and essential, so hidden in plain sight all around us all the time that we have to keep reminding ourselves over and over, this is water. This is water. It is unimaginably hard to do this, to stay conscious and alive in the adult world day in and day out. I wish you way more than luck.